everybody. We'll get started in just a minute. It's going to be a shorter than normal live stream tonight. I just wanted to pop on, just say what's going on, and talk about the inflation report we got. Now, I think in about 15 minutes, the Tesla robo taxi event is going to start. So I'm quite curious to look into that a little bit more in greater detail. Unfortunately, it was so late at night. I don't know why they chose to do that. I think 7 p.m. Pacific time, Elon chose to host the event, which is 10 p.m. our time. Anyway, hopefully everyone fared well in the storm. Miami didn't really get anything. It was actually a pretty beautiful day. Picture perfect. So we're in South Beach. We're gonna get started here in a moment. Hopefully everyone's well. Happy Inflation Thursday. Alan says, are you planning on tuning in live or watching it later? I think I'm probably gonna overlap a little bit with it. I'm just so curious as to why they hosted it so late. I had no idea it was gonna be this late. But I will definitely be watching the replay tonight, for sure. Now, it's interesting though, because the stock price of Tesla today really didn't move that much. Pretty tight intraday range. I think Tesla actually finished lower on the day. Pretty much no movement. I mean, nothing, to write home about. We'll see. I'm pretty optimistic for the event. In general, we'll just have to wait and see. Austin city limits is lots of damage south of Tampa, about 100 mile stretch. Now, I was seeing that the roof of the Tampa Bay Rays completely blew off, which is crazy. I mean, I know that parts of Sarasota, obviously further south you go, the storm surge was crazy, which is really, really heartbreaking. But from what they were saying it's going to be, it looks like it was a lot better, even though the devastation is still pretty broad-based. At least it didn't make landfall at Category 5. Hey, Paul is here. What's going on? Reggie 44, Vivian, Unij 23. Welcome everybody to South Beach. This is the corner of Collins Avenue and 21st Street. Trinidad says, good night, Tom, from the Caribbean. This weekend, Miami's Carnival. Very cool. I may be flying to New York Sunday. We'll see. We'll see. Vivian says, yes, Category 2 by Orlando. I mean, I can't believe how lucky Miami has been getting. Again, not to jinx us over here in Miami, but most of the hurricanes have been passing us, and most of them as of late have been hitting on the west coast. But I mean, some of the storm footage I saw, I mean, the flooding is just intense. Very, very intense. I think one part is called Port St. Lucie, I believe. And this guy was showing his house, and he probably had, no joke, about 3 feet of sand inside his house. So pretty crazy, pretty wild. I apologize for the wind noise, by the way, because I forgot my mic. I was at the office today and forgot the mic. What can you do? But we did get CPI today. We'll just kind of dive right into the conversation because it will be a shorter than normal stream. 2.4% for the headline CPI print, inching ever so closer to the Fed's 2% target, but it did come in a little bit higher than expected. Now, a positive note about the report is that shelter actually started to decelerate at a much faster pace, which is good. But, as we think about shelter, right? We always say that asset prices tend to correct in the order of liquidity, right? So real estate being less liquid asset, it tends to reprice a lot slower. But here's the real problem, and this is a data point that we went over a few times now. I believe almost 40% of all people that own a home have no mortgage. So 40% of homeowners don't owe anybody any money anymore. And there's about 93% of people in the United States with a mortgage that have very, very low fixed rate debt. So very, very low fixed rate debt. So those two kind of data points there, in my opinion, are really preventing that big crescendo that a lot of people have been calling for in the real estate market, right? Many people have been saying, you know, now that the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates, you're going to have a 2008 style crash in the residential real estate market. But again, like I said, you know, having almost 40% of people with no mortgage, it's kind of hard to default on debt you don't have. You know, what really caused that 2008 financial crisis was a bunch of people defaulting on their loans. These were subprime loans. So I think those two factors are playing in a major amount, way more than people think. And most people who own a home right now can afford it, right? Their payments are very, very low. They're locked in on long duration fixed rate debt. So shelter is decelerating, shelter costs are coming down. I should say the rate of acceleration in price is slowing significantly. But I think a little bit anecdotally, I mean, what would you guys say? I mean, many of you own homes, many of you are renters, right? I'm a renter and an owner. Would you say this year, Q3 2024, rents cooled a little bit? I mean, the housing market got less competitive, more competitive. I mean, what are you kind of seeing in your neck of the woods? Lee Oswald is here. This is Evening Tom. Hey, Lee. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to South Beach. I see Professor Dario. Professor, I spent pretty much the whole day in Little Buenos Aires. So, when you come to America again, I'll have to take you to Little Buenos Aires. I think you're gonna love it. Robert says we paid off our mortgage years ago. So Robert, like, let's say for example, you were ever gonna sell your home, right? And you have the mortgage fully paid off. From a negotiation standpoint, right? The point I'm trying to make is, if you were ever to sell your home, you're not going to be super motivated to fire sale it to somebody, because there's really no motivation for you to move, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing a lot with the sellers that I have. They're like, look, Tom, if you can't get us this price, I'm in no rush to sell. I have very little debt or no debt on this property. So, I mean, really the only time someone is going to fire sale their asset to you is if there's a catalyst, right? If they need to move, if they need to offload that property. But many people, especially after the pandemic, they've just been staying put. So, this is 18th Street and Collins. Reggie 44 says no hurry for me either, no debt. Help says, will I make it to 9th tonight? Maybe tonight. We'll see. Robert says, I agree. Not hugely motivated to dump it at a low price. Now, a lot of my listings, and you could go online and actually see a lot of my listings, and I'm talking about the Manhattan market. You know, I've been saying to my sellers, I'm like, look, if you want this to sell, you got to lower the price. Because when people do the calculation, right, especially in New York City, when you do the calculation, is it more financially advantageous for me to rent or buy? Oftentimes, with the elevated interest rates, Like if you know, a banker is going to quote you, you know, a 6% 30-year fixed, and even if you put 20% down, your mortgage payment for that same equivalent property is going to be more than if you would just rent, right, at this kind of stage. So when people are doing that calculation to make the numbers work, or in the business we call it make the deal pencil, the price has to come down. Problem is, sellers are saying exactly that. They're like, you know, I can just either just continue to rent this place, or I can just eat the real estate taxes and the common charges because the place is paid off, and I'll wait until the market improves and sell it for the price I want. So, and you're starting to see, and you're seeing that in the data, right? The amount of overall transactions being done is falling off a cliff. You know, Q3, if you look at existing home sales, absolutely fell off a cliff. But you're seeing a divergence here. You're seeing a very, very interesting divergence. Yes, transactions are falling off a cliff, but prices year over year are going up, especially in the Northeast. We just got the existing home sales data for August. In the Northeast, you saw transaction volume decline, I think 6% year over year. But guess what? Prices went up 7.7% year over year. So there's a divergence, even though transaction volume is going down, on a year over year basis, prices are still going up, which is crazy. I love these Art Deco style buildings here. Robert says, is there anything decent either in New York City or Miami for $500,000? Yeah, I would say, I mean, for sure. If you buy a single family home in, you know, parts of Miami, you can get something decent for $500,000. New York City, if you're talking Manhattan, it's probably going to need to be a studio. So it's probably going to be maybe 500 square foot box for $500,000. This is now 17th Street. Hey, what's up, Lee? Good to see you. Peter says, are most of the homes you were talking about primary residences, or are they second homes that don't get the 250K to 500K? Yeah. So in Manhattan, most of these places that I'm talking about are like second homes for people. They have a primary residence in Manhattan, or they have a primary overseas, and this is just their apartment in Manhattan that they use, or they let their kids stay at, something like that. But it's also an interesting like causation correlation argument, and Manhattan is very niche specific for this, because in my experience, chances are if you own, let's say, a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom apartment in Tribeca, right, that's probably going to cost you, you know, $3.5 million to $4 million. That's probably not the only property you have, right? In my experience, working with some, you know, sellers in the city, you probably also have something in, you know, California. You'll also have something in New York. So it's a good question, though. RYZ says 500 square feet for $500,000 is not worth it. Well, look, I mean, that's Manhattan prices. If you want to be on Central Park South and you want to buy a studio overlooking Central Park, it's probably going to run you $500,000, probably even a little bit more, actually. You know, I think like a remodeled studio around there, maybe like $675, actually. It really just depends. I mean, that's New York City pricing for you if you want to be in a good location. Now, if you want to be on the Upper West Side, you know, a little bit further up, you know, you could probably find something for a little cheaper, but that's just the prices. I mean, those are the prices. Jimmy B, what's going on? Thanks for joining. But I mean, I guess I'll ask you guys, because the reason why we're talking about this, obviously today, as we're standing on 17th Street and Collins, we got inflation data out, CPI day, right? 2.4% for CPI. But one of the, I should say, micro categories of CPI, and if you type exclamation point CPI in the chat. The Nightbot will drop the CPI report for you, and you can actually look at it yourself. Shelter costs is starting to decline more rapidly here, but still remains elevated above the Fed's target. And we're kind of brainstorming reasons and ideas as to why that may be. But again, I'll ask, this is that free trolley. I mean, what market are you guys in if you're comfortable sharing? And is the housing market still crazy by you? I mean, are rents coming down at least in your neck of the woods? I could say conclusively, I would say Miami is cooling quite significantly. And I would say rents are cooling a little bit in Manhattan, particularly the boroughs. Brooklyn, excluding Brooklyn, because Brooklyn is actually kind of still white hot right now. We're coming up on Lincoln Road. Allen to Central US, Kansas City Metro. Very minor rent cooling in my experience, but I guess it's starting. Just varies is Massachusetts, no. I feel like there's more people. Look at that Cybertruck. Tesla event is going to start in like 15 minutes. Lance says that's where I am, Brooklyn. Well, Lance, I mean, Brooklyn is, for sales, Brooklyn is still white hot. Brooklyn, a lot of our listings and our stuff in Brooklyn has been selling like hotcakes. A lot of times in Manhattan, we can't give this stuff away if it's not priced appropriately, which many people are very reluctant to reduce prices. But Brooklyn, I mean, we've had a ton of demand for people wanting to move to Brooklyn. 061 says housing mass in Rhode Island is still high, but it seems to be cooling. Got it. Hey, Emma G, good to see you. What's going on? This is my youngest sister turns 30 next week, and she's sharing a rent for £700 a month, 20 miles outside of London. That doesn't seem too bad. I mean, 20 miles, what do? You take the train into London? That doesn't seem too bad at all. RYZ says Portland, Vancouver Metro. House prices are very high. If you purchased a house for $300,000 in 2008, it will probably be worth $600,000 to $800,000 today. Wow, not bad. University mentality says South Texas not going down at all. That's interesting because I feel as if Texas would be cooling substantially, because you saw originally, sparked by the pandemic, so many New Yorkers, so many people from California moving to Texas en masse, and now that's kind of cooled down a little bit. So you would think prices would be coming down. Also, the property taxes in Texas are very high. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, you may see, you know, the list price of a home be $350,000, but the property taxes in Texas can be real killer. I know for sure that the condo market in Austin, Texas is cooling significantly because I've been tracking some of the prices there. David says, did Milton pass by Miami? Milton completely missed Miami. It's actually been picture perfect weather pretty much all day today. The Libertarian says Phoenix is cooling slightly. Reggie 44 says still sticker shock at the grocery store. Well, both food away from home and food at home went up. I've noticed specifically that every time I eat out in Manhattan, I mean, the prices are just honestly just sick. But if you go to the boroughs, like we were just talking about, like Flushing, Queens, it's literally 50% off everything. If you go out to eat in Flushing, Queens, it is 50% less expensive than if you would have gone out in Manhattan. This is the Ritz-Carlton, Miami, by the way. We're pretty much right on the water. Let's make our way across the street. This is Lincoln Road. This is like a big outdoor shopping mall place. I'm very, very surprised that there's a lot of people out tonight. I was not expecting much of it, if at all. This guy's wearing a tuxedo riding this thing? That's awesome. Davis says, do you think Florida should legalize recreational marijuana and mushrooms? I always go back and forth on this. I supported it in New York, but now I'm a little bit, I just want to see this guy go by on this Vespa. It's so cool. Now, I supported it in New York, the legalization of marijuana, totally. But the problem is, if you walk around Manhattan, if we have any New Yorkers here, it reeks of weed everywhere. And I don't think that's good for society, to be quite honest. Again, I fully support people being able to smoke marijuana in the, you know, privacy of their own homes. Public, I think we're gonna have to figure something out, because it reeks of weed every time you walk down the streets in New York. I don't know. I just think there has to be some parameters set. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Because I'm very progressive in my politics. When it comes to social issues, I would consider myself a progressive on that. But I think we may have made a mistake with just opening the floodgates for the marijuana in New York, because it reeks of weed everywhere. But then again, I don't want to encroach on anyone's rights to be able to smoke whatever they want. Any thoughts there? Hey, Timothy says, in Houston, 500K gets you 3,500 square feet, a detached garage. Yeah, no, I know, you definitely more bang for your buck. Ken's the same in Southeast Michigan. I was pro legalization until it began to smell everywhere. Dude, I think we're pretty much aligned on that. It's a fine line to walk, because one of my biggest pet peeves is I hate the government encroaching on individual rights and individual freedoms. And I feel as if, who am I, right, to tell someone else if they can smoke weed or not? I mean, that's their choice. It has nothing to do with me. I don't smoke weed personally, but like, who am I to tell somebody else what they can or can't do in public? But it just smells so bad. And I don't know if I want my kids around that. So maybe we could revise the legislation to say it's legal, but there's designated areas, or you could smoke it in your own home. I don't know. This is an awesome building, the Berkeley Shore. Beautiful Art Deco style. Let me catch up on some of the comments. Brian says that was in Williamson County in Austin. It's even worse, but home prices in Austin compared to where we were, 30 miles north, were much higher per square foot at the time when we lived there. So you're saying things are coming down a little bit. Brian says, hey Tom, I could attest to the taxes in Texas. On 1,641 square feet, our property taxes were almost $6,000 a year. Holy crap. That's like Miami. Tammy says, like cigarettes, smoke away on your own turf. Just not in public. I think I agree with you, Tammy. It's just that, I mean, I can't stand cigarettes. I would rather have it smell like marijuana everywhere than have it smell like cigarettes everywhere. That's just me. That's just me, but. I always ask, like, you know, my grandmother or my mom, like, how did you possibly operate functionally when you were allowed to smoke at the office? I mean, who here is old enough to remember when people could quite literally smoke at the cubicle or smoke in restaurants? I don't understand how people got any work done. Maybe it's just you became so acclimated to that environment. I would not be able to get any work done if you could smoke inside. No way. Hey, Marks, is Tom. My 3-bedroom house sold for $450 a year ago. Fixed it up a little bit. Now it's selling for $700. Jeez. Gabriella says, I smoke weed. I actually really agree with you. I really never thought about it that way. We'll definitely be more respectful out in public. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, everyone should be able to have the right to do what they want to do. I have no, I mean, who cares? But I mean, it does reek. That's the only thing. And then, you know, kids are curious, so they ask about it. I don't know.
Or their cars that come by us. Hi.
All right, let's continue to head down Collins. Holy crap. Cheese Puffs as nurses smoked at the nursing station in the hospital. Crazy. Now, when I was in Korea, they had a dedicated smoking section at the airport, which was wild. Yeah, tomahawks. It's hard to be productive if you're a heavy weed smoker. I think it just affects people differently. Some people it doesn't affect their productivity at all. Some people it does. I don't know. For me, I tend to have a very, very addictive personality, so I can't risk doing any drugs or drinking alcohol. It's just I just know my personality. I'm very like type A on almost everything. So if I start something, I like hammer on it constantly. So I would probably just be a ridiculous stoner or an alcoholic. So, all right, 15th Street, Collins Avenue. Maybe we'll cross over a little bit early tonight and we'll go to Ocean Drive. Michelle K says, you think weed smells terrible? It's just overpowering, a little bit overbearing, I guess. Also, New York State really, really botched, not to make the whole stream about weed. We can if we want, I mean, I don't care. I think New York State really, really botched the legalization. And you have all of these rogue smoke shops everywhere. I think it should have been, and it's going to sound crazy for me to say this, but I think it should have been more scrutinized, like really, really, really regulated by the government. But it's almost like Wild West in New York. This is Espanola Way. Now, speaking of weed, we could transition to talking about food, because chances are if you're smoking a lot of weed, you're going to be consuming a lot of calories. So in the inflation report, both food at home and food away from home increased year over year. And I want to know from you guys, wherever you live, when you go to the grocery store, are you still kind of getting that sticker shock? If things come down, are things reasonable? Or what about going out to eat? Is it just too expensive to go out to eat? Or if prices come down a little bit? I think my opinions are too skewed because I tend to reside in the two most expensive cities in the US, New York City and Miami. But I will say this. Things to me seem extremely cheap every time I'm outside of New York City or Miami. Reggie 44 says beef is expensive. Emma G says I agree with you 100% on the addictive personality. I've experienced that myself. Indeed. Wow, someone says restaurant prices are so high and I'm in a suburb, it's terrible. Milkman says I don't really think it matters where you live. Even feeding 2 people at McDonald's is like $30. It's really crazy. It's really, really crazy. That's the Betsy orb for those of you who don't know. I remember when I went to Vanderbilt University. I didn't go there. I'm not that smart. Pump the brakes on that one. I visited there. And I couldn't believe, and this was, oh my God, this was a million years ago. This is probably like 2015, 2016. And a Chipotle bowl was $7.50. I took a picture of the menu because I couldn't believe it. I almost fell over. So you used to be able to get one bowl at Chipotle for $7.50. I mean, you walk in New York, you know, and just get a regular burrito bowl. I think it's going to cost you like 15 bucks. Maybe more if you get guac. So it's, I mean, imagine having a family of 5, right? Husband, wife, 3 kids, and you take your kids out to Chipotle. I mean, you're gonna see $100 plus bill for Chipotle. It's crazy. Mark says Publix supermarket is extremely expensive since I moved here. The best thing they have at Publix is the 2-for-1s. The Betsy Ross's place is amazing. Hey, Dan Sanks, Tom, chicken over rice in New York City used to be $5. Now it's between 8 to 10. Yep, that's another truth. But Dan, I was telling everyone else, I've been spending more time in Flushing, Queens, and I kid you not, I mean, I don't have to tell you, but the prices of everything is like 50% less than Manhattan. You want to go to like a Chinese restaurant, get maltang, everything, like a coffee, every single thing is about 50% less than Manhattan. It's crazy. Richie 44 says just eat outside of Manhattan. It's tough sometimes. I mean, if I'm at the office, what am I going to do? Take the train 30 minutes just to get something to eat? Dan says that's the main reason why I stay in Queens. Well, slowly but surely, Queens is getting more expensive. Particularly, what's it called? The rent. I was on a listing pitch in Long Island City, and I was running the comps for like a 2-bedroom apartment. I mean, the price increase is just from 10 years ago in Long Island City. Oh my gosh. It's insane. I mean, Long Island City, I would consider expensive now. At all those luxury apartments. Yeah, Professor says I will go to Flushing, either via the LIRR or the subway. Yeah, check it out. I think you're really gonna like Flushing, Queens. It's the biggest Chinatown in New York City. Man, Ocean Drive looks pretty cool tonight. Montley Lou, what's going on? Oh, someone says they're right here at one of the hotels. I just saw that comment. Interesting. There's this famous chicken brand that's been popping up all over New York City. It's not new, it's actually old, but I think it's just come in New York City. Raising Cane's. Anybody familiar with that brand, Raising Cane's? Anyone's ever been there, eaten there, whatnot? Well, the guy, turns out the person who owns it, I was doing a little bit of diligence into the company. I think it's one owner and he owns like 90% of the business. I think he's worth almost $8 billion. Anybody ever heard of this story? Raising Cane's? Yo Charles says Cane's is overrated and expensive. I've never had it. I've just been seeing them pop up all over New York City. But do a Google search, Raising Cane's CEO. This guy started the company from nothing. I think retained about 90% equity ownership. And he makes like something crazy. Like in the hundreds of millions of dollars a year off the dividends in that company. And he's worth like, I think $8 billion. It's crazy. Timothy says Raising Cane's is great, and I'm glad it's coming to New York City. Now, if I go there again, I can get some decent chicken strips. Maybe I'll try it. I'm not really a huge fan of that type of food, but there's one in Penn Station now. There's one in Times Square, and so I've heard one is coming to Grand Central Station. This is now 14th Street. The Winter Haven here. The Milkman says overrated and overpriced. Well, it seems as if about 90% of the audience does not like Raising Cane's. I wonder how it's so successful. I was reading about it. Anyway, let's take one quick stroll through, what's it called? Espanola Way, and then let's come back to Ocean Drive. Because I just want to see if the restaurants are packed. Mark, I've never been to Key West. Believe it or not. Never been to Key West. Someone says Cane's is better quality version than Popeyes. Chat is too emotional. Perhaps. Look at these alleyways here. Is anyone also simultaneously watching the robo taxi event? Tesla, I think it's on right now. It's supposed to start at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Today is October 10th, 10/10. And Elon should be doing his thing. His whole song and dance right now. I wonder if we have any movement after hours. We're gonna quickly walk back up to Espanola Way, and then we'll make a left. Yo Charles says it hasn't started yet, still waiting for the show to start. This looks like a new coffee shop here. You can see the Royal Palm in the distance. Any opinions or guesses, thoughts about the robo-taxi event that's going to kick off here in a few moments? Do you think we're going to see a material change in the stock price tomorrow? I think this could potentially be a big catalyst for Tesla, assuming they deliver an interesting value proposition with these robo-taxis. Now these are the new buildings that are going up in place of some of the Art Deco ones that are being torn down. Not a huge fan. 061 says I'm not a Musk fan. Are you a robo-taxi fan? Are you an EV fan? Would you ever buy an EV? What are your kind of thoughts there? All right, we're back on Espanola Way. We'll make a left. With Tesla, I think Elon is such an integral part of that company, just because he's branded himself, you know, one and the same. When you think of Tesla, you think Elon Musk, right? I'm just excited for the potential Starlink. And SpaceX initial public offering on the new Texas Stock Exchange that's allegedly going to be coming up. Cheese Puff says Elon claims robo-taxis are safe when they're proven not. It's tech. It's going to get safer and safer and safer. I think a lot of the news stories you read are just journalists that have no engineering experience, that are just haters. That's my view. It's kind of like the same people that will say, you see, this autonomous vehicle crashed into something. See, it's never going to work. It's a big failure. Well, mistakes happen as technology advances. How many people crash into things every single day? You know, because they're drunk or they're driving impaired. Over time, the tech is going to get better and better and better, where you're not going to have any of the terrible car accidents and crashes, right? I was reading this interesting analyst report about Tesla, and they were describing this new SaaS business model, like a software as a service model for full self-driving and robo-taxi. So you can pay to be a part of this program, and have your Tesla making money for you while you're at work. Peters is my neighbor, just bought a Kia EV. Interesting. James says EVs are terrible for Ubers. I don't know. I think I always get excited when I get a Tesla Uber whenever I call an Uber. We'll see. We'll see. The problem is not that EVs suck, it's that our infrastructure sucks. I think that's a more fair assessment. So Teslas don't suck, it's just we don't have the infrastructure to charge all these EVs. And that is a big problem. And the Biden administration, and I'll just say the government, I don't want the chat to freak out. We've been spending, I think we spent over $1 billion, or just about $1 billion to build a lot of this EV infrastructure, and I think we built one. I think we put up one charging station. So. All right, this is Washington Avenue and Espanola Way. Looks pretty packed. Sam says you heard it was 8 billion. What I find funny is that money has really become like an illusionary fallacy to us, if you think about it. We spend so much money, we send $1 billion here, $100 billion here. We don't even realize like the value of money anymore. It's just kind of like fugazi. Like there's no difference. There's no difference emotionally if we spend $1 billion or if we spend $8 billion. It's like there's like no difference. That's how much money we spend. To the tune of $34 trillion, our national debt. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams every single day starting at 8:30. And we'd love for you to join us. Also, if you like our financial talk, I write a free investing letter for the chat. We just sent out our latest investor letter on Thursday. If you want to sign up for free, you can scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. We talked a lot about the PBOC shifting from a tighter monetary stance to an unbelievably loose and easy monetary stance, which is going to increase global liquidity. So go ahead and check it out. This is a new sushi place I've never been to, but it looks really good. What do you guys think of Espanola Way? How hard is it to find a job in Miami? Maybe about as hard as anywhere else in the U.S. I don't know. I have yet to look for a job here. But I would say easier than before. I think there's more job opportunities now in Miami than there used to be. This looks like a Spanish restaurant from Spain, España, Miami. Junior says, I'm thinking about moving to Miami. I think you're gonna like it. If you like the tropics, if you like it hot and humid, you'll enjoy Miami. It's a very, very fun city. Someone's asking how much is dinner for two in this area. I'd probably budget maybe like 125 to 150. Miami's expensive. This is like a main tourist area. You know, South Beach. I think there's only one other place that may be a little bit more expensive than Brickell or South Beach. Maybe the Gables, like Coral Gables. You know what's an area I haven't been to in a long time? Coconut Grove. Man, I haven't been there in such a long time. Anyone here a big fan of Coconut Grove, Miami? But it's very pretty here with the Spanish style architecture. Vivian Francesca, yes. Just looking at the palm trees here, it's very peaceful. All right, let's head back to Ocean Drive. Leaders can't just move to Miami and live nice. You have to be pretty successful. I think that's really anywhere. I mean, it's not like you could just move anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world with no money and live quote unquote nice. But I think in major cities like New York, Miami, San Francisco, LA, there's more chances of success, right? There's more opportunity. Higher probability, likelihood you'll run into someone that's successful, you could work with or work for. Everything in Miami is Coconut Grove used to be a hippie area in the 70s, really? I didn't know that. I mean, think about all the people that moved to New York City with no money. That's why, you know, sometimes you'll see these videos on the internet and they interview people on the streets in New York and they say, how much money do you need to make to live in New York City? And all these people say, oh, you need to make $300,000 a year to live in New York City. From my experience, the people who kind of respond that way have very, very high egos because it's implying that, oh, I make a lot of money and that's how I live in New York City. So it's more just like a big, like, gassing your ego, a lot of those interviews. You don't need to make that much money to live in New York City. If you're a real New Yorker, right, if you're born and raised in New York, you understand that there's a lot of people in New York City that live below the poverty line. Right, just go to the boroughs, go to Upper Manhattan, go to Washington Heights, Hamilton Heights, you know, Lower East Side of Manhattan. There is extreme poverty in New York, right? It's not just rich people. And I think those type of videos kind of discourage people from coming to New York City to try to make a name for themselves, right? You can, you know, spend $500 to rent a room, you know, all the way out in the middle of nowhere in the boroughs of Queens somewhere. Is it gonna suck? Yes. Is it gonna be luxurious? No. But it'll give you a place to sleep so you can grind it out and try to make a name for yourself in the city. It's just about giving yourself more opportunities. So, no, you don't need to make all this money to be able to come to New York City. That's kind of my 2 cents. Should we check out Lincoln Road? And maybe we'll head back to Ocean Drive. Hey, TD, what's going on? Look, I think everyone starts somewhere, you know? Everybody starts somewhere. Look at how nice this mural is. I wish I could take you guys to the Wynwood section of Miami. There's just no internet there. But Wynwood is amazing. Sarah says it would be nice to have friends in multiple places to go visit for free. You know, if you get creative, before Airbnb was Airbnb, Airbnb was like a free platform for people just to like couch surf. So, hey, I'm gonna be in San Francisco. I need a place to crash. And you would just stay at people's homes for free. I think it just depends on how bad you want something. If you want something so bad, you're gonna figure it out, right? You're gonna figure out how to make it work. You just are, right? Jack says 18 to 34, over 55% report living off their parents still. And I think that number is only going to continue to grow. I think that statistic sparks an interesting cultural kind of debate. Because if you think about the US, right, we're very, very independent. US culture is focused on, you know, once you're 18, boom, you're out of the house. But in other cultures, I mean, families live together for a very, very long time. And if you think about, you know, trying to build wealth or, you know, accumulate assets, I think it's easier to do that, obviously, much easier to do that if you do it as, you know, like a family unit. Because especially in a major city like New York or Miami, right, you could have, you know, let's say a family, mother, father, and then 3 kids. If the 3 kids are all, you know, 24, 25 years old, and they're all living on their own in and around the New York City area, everyone's paying $3,000 a month in rent individually. As a collective, that family's probably paying upwards of $15,000 a month in rent, when if they pooled their resources, if they pooled those assets together, they could actually accumulate properties or invest that and actually start to get ahead and build, you know, equity in some assets. I always refer to that story about the Indian family that came from India to the United States and started the massive motel business by doing exactly that. Oh, speaking of Raising Cane's, it's right over there. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even know there was a Raising Cane's here in Miami. Maybe I just missed that. Right here on Lincoln Road. But yeah, there's this Indian family that owns the vast majority of motels in America. They started by buying one motel. The families lived in the individual rooms and rented out the others, and they ran the business. And when they built up enough equity, they ripped the equity out, bought another one, and another one, and another one. So sometimes, you know, maybe it's actually fiscally responsible to live with your parents a little bit longer, as long as you're saving the money and investing the money. I mean, if you're living with your parents and you're just going out partying every night, maybe that's not a good decision. But you know, if you could live rent-free, save up some money, buy something, or invest in the market, I don't think that's so bad. I think that's actually pretty good. But it has gotten increasingly more difficult for young people to kind of strike it on their own. That's for sure. I'm from Switzerland. Do you have any work recommendations in hotels in the US? Well, I don't think you're going to have any issue at all getting a job in the hospitality industry in the United States. Sorry about the wind noise. I know the wind is picking up. We don't have the mic. We should have the mic tomorrow. I just forgot it at my house. But I think if you want to move to the US and get a job in hospitality, you're not going to have any problem at all. Because the service sector in the US is growing like crazy. There's an overwhelming amount of service sector jobs. We just got the non-farm payrolls last week, and the service sector was pretty much like number one for adding jobs. You know, hotels, restaurants. But if you're going to move from Switzerland to come to the US to work in hospitality, I would say shoot for the very, 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 very top. I would apply to all the 5-star hotels. I would apply to all the Michelin star restaurants for like servers, things like that, because you want to get as close to the top as possible. You want to shoot for the top, gun right for the top, right? Because think about all of the people who stay at 5-star hotels or who eat at Michelin star restaurants. They're very successful people. And if you can network and get to know these people, well, then maybe 3-4 years down the line, you won't be working at the hotel anymore, right? Maybe you'll make a friend or an acquaintance who frequents the hotel. You get into another industry, boom, you triple your salary, right? Or you have a business partner. So you always want to try to get something more out of the job than the wage. And I think if you're working in the hospitality sector right now in the US, particularly servicing luxury, I think you'll do quite well. But always try to get more out of the job than just the wage, right? Everyone who comes in, make sure you know their names, everything. This is the Miami Beach Convention Center right here. Let's actually go this way. You know, there's a lot of people that says, you know, I'm depressed, I'm at this dead-end job. There's no career advancement. Look for opportunities just outside the wage, right? Maybe you're in a client-facing position. Get to know your clients. What businesses are they in? What industries are they in? Right? That's a good way to jump ship to another lucrative opportunity, leapfrog. And I mean, in the United States, you know, I mean, hell, if you move to New York City and even if you get a job as a barista at Starbucks, I mean, my God, what an opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity. You just have to reframe the way you think about things. Many people say, I'm just working at Starbucks, I'm kind of down on my luck. Or you could say, holy crap, I'm working at Starbucks in New York City. Think about all the customers that come in and get coffee. If you work at a Starbucks on Park Avenue, right? You have some of the wealthiest hedge fund managers, family office PMs, investment bankers coming through the door every single day. And you get to network with them and build relationships. You never know, one thing leads to another. Maybe you get a job at a bank, or maybe you get one of those people to invest in one of your ventures. You never know. You've got to just keep the foot on the gas pedal at all times and think like, you know, many of you might be saying, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's never going to happen. Well, you're probably right. It's probably never going to happen if you think like that. But if you force yourself to be irrationally optimistic, it'll happen. Trust me. Think about the type of people you want to be around. Do you want to be around someone who's bitching and complaining all the time? Or around someone who thinks everything they touch turns to gold, right? You want to get around those people. And there are ways to do that. So I think you're going to do good. I think you're going to make a fortune if you come here from Switzerland to work in hospitality. You're going to do amazing. This is the Gale Hotel. Alan's Musk event is about to start. It was delayed due to a medical emergency in the crowd. Holy crap. That's not good. All right, the Tesla event is starting now. All right, well, selfishly, hopefully you guys don't mind, because I kind of want to watch this live. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really want to watch this live. So I think I'm gonna end my stream. Let's all go over to Elon's stream, and tomorrow let's meet back here at 8:45, and we'll talk about the robo-taxi event. I just think this is such an important event. I think we all need to. We should all be paying attention to it. So if you enjoyed the stream here, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you're interested in these financial conversations that we have every night, you'd probably be interested in our free investing newsletter that you could subscribe to for free by scanning the QR code on your screen and punching in your email. We just sent it out on Thursday night. Check out our Substack. It's a great free way to support the broadcast. And I'll see you guys at the Tesla event that's starting now. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much. UniJ23, Gary Carpenter, Mark, Professor Dario, Milkman, all of our moderators, Joseph Hardaway, Jim, Alan. Thank you so much, Michelle, Vivian, Francesca, Yo Charles, Reg 44, Sarah. We'll see you guys tomorrow.